Welcome to Driver Focus, and we're going to go through each and every driver and give them a rating of how well they did over the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. And we're going to start right at the front. Max Verstappen, 10 out of 10, brilliant final sector in Q qualifying, absolutely pulled it out the top draw. And actually the first stint in the race on the medium tyres to go 50 laps on the mediums was absolutely fantastic. Just to put that into perspective, the Williams struggled and did 20 laps on them medium tyres before they had to throw him in the bin and chuck him, so he did double that. Matched what Alonso ran on the hards as well, and actually was not even losing time, gaining time on Alonso on really worn medium tyres was unbelievable. And then to stick it out on the rain, I think that we took a bit of unnecessary risk with that one, but brilliant overall. 10 out of 10, cannot fault Max Verstappen on that one. Fernando Alonso, brilliant to get it into P2. Shame actually the strategy calls. I think Aston Martin let him down a little bit on that one, and yes, I think they're also underplaying the strategy call to go into the mediums when the rain was coming down. You've ran the hard so far, waiting for this moment. Stroll was already on the intermediate, so you kind of knew that's the way to go. I'm surprised they split that at that stage and risked Alonso on putting back on the mediums. Absolutely the wrong call, and they've said that probably wouldn't have cost him, but a slow in lap from Verstappen and a very good out lap from Alonso on them inters could have been all the difference to being, touch and go coming out of the pits. It would have meant an app to been pressure on Red Bull. They let them off the hook really with that call, but I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10, Fernando Alonso. Next is Esteban Ocon. He was fantastic in qualifying, wasn't he? Pulled the lap out of the bag in P4. Got promoted obviously because of the Charles Leclerc penalty up into P3. I don't even know what to say. Fantastic podium in Monaco in the Alpine. Who would have thought of that? Absolutely magnificent. Crucially kept the Ferrari behind him of Carlos Sainz early on, and actually got quite lucky when Carlos Sainz ran into the back of him, just to keep that car on track and keep going. Was absolutely brilliant. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 for that. You just can't not, can you? It was absolutely mega. Lewis Hamilton, a decent point finish. He moved forward in the race, qualified further back in 5th, beat his teammate, who's been sort of getting out qualified recently, hasn't he, Lewis Hamilton? And he actually pulled in a decent performance in that Mercedes. I'm surprised they didn't gamble a little earlier on the inters, but I guess they made the right choices, kept the positions, and I think it was the other car that we'll get to in a minute that was made the wrong call on that one. But Lewis Hamilton, a very solid weekend. I'm going to go for an 8 out of 10 for him. George Russell next, he finished in 5th place. He had a decent qualifying, but got out qualified by his teammate, but actually was in the race where he made the big mistake, didn't he, for Mercedes? He was actually in P3 looking for that podium. His strategy call actually really worked out, didn't it? He started on the hards, ran all the way along, came in for the inters or was due to come in, or came in on the inters at the right time, lost it, and then that sort of lost in position, and then when he was coming back out, he didn't check or missed a blind spot. That caused the incident with Perez, which cost him 5 seconds and actually cost him the podium at Monaco, really more crucially, and he was really disappointed with that. It did go unnoticed, that whole point in the race, because there was a lot of going on, wasn't there? A lot of chaos in and around him, but he'll be massively disappointed with that. But decent points overall for the Mercedes team. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10, George Russell, on that one. Next up is Pierre Gasly. He got a 7 out of 10 for me. It was a solid weekend, but he'll be disappointed considering his teammate is taking all the limelight from him here at his home race. Well, home race in the French Grand Prix, I suppose. But yeah, he's just disappointed in the race overall. 7 out of 10, decent weekend. Carlos Sainz, he'll be most disappointed. When he started in P5, went backwards in the race, finished in P8 in the end. I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10. He was really lucky. The sloppy move on Ocon, wasn't it, early on, lost his front wing. Lucky that wasn't more for Ocon and even potentially more of damage for him. And then struggled really throughout, and then it was a crucial mistake that he also made in and around the pit stop time when the rain coming down, and that cost him daily. That moved him back behind Ocon and Charles Leclerc, crucially, and that meant when they came in for the pits, he had to double stack. Race ruin there for him. Lando Norris gonna go for a 6 out of 10. Solid points. Finished in P9. Good weekend for McLaren with points overall. Next, Oscar Piastri, his teammate, followed home. 7 out of 10 actually. Decent qualifying. Got the best out of what he probably could with that McLaren. So decent moves in the race as well. A good weekend for a rookie in Monaco. We normally see incidents for them. So a 7 out of 10 for Oscar Piastri. Next is Valtteri Bottas. He'll be glad to be off the back of the grid for a long time. He's been there, hasn't he? But a decent Monaco Grand Prix for him. He finished 11th in the end, showing for him just outside the points. 7 out of 10, much better from the Alfa Romeo team. As I say, they've normally been foiling back in the race, and he's back in the fight in the midfield, so I'll be happy with that probably. Nick De Vries is next. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. It was a so-so Monaco Grand Prix from him. Yeah, I think overall though, Yuki Tsunoda still outclassed him over the weekend, so he's still got some catching up to do to try and get onto pace with his slightly more experienced teammate in Yuki Tsunoda. Zhou Guanyu finished in 13th place. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. He was beaten by his teammate all weekend, struggled really for pace. Alex Albon, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I think I've been a bit harsh on him actually, because that Williams was really poor. Really poor on the tyres. And actually this car isn't, or this track isn't really a track that suits the Williams teams. They've done well in the low downforce circuits, and Monaco is just shove as much downforce as you can on overall. So I'm going to give him a bit of slack. Overall, I think it was not the best weekend for him, but decent to finish in P14, where a track, where they really did struggle. Like I said, they had to pit on lap 20 on their mediums, and look what Max Verstappen did on the same tyres. So they've got a lot of work to do on that car. They have the Williams team. Yuki Tsunoda finished in 15th, 6 out of 10 for him. He was on for P9 in the rain actually, and he really started to struggle with the brakes once that rain came down, and then just dropped places back from there on, lost confidence, and he was brilliant over the radio, isn't he, with Yuki Tsunoda? As soon as the team get on him, the way he just speaks and he just says it how it is, doesn't he? Love his team radio, it's so raw with emotion. Sergio Perez next, he finished in 16th place, started last. I'm going to give him a 1 out of 10. I mean, sorry Sergio fans, but I'm sure you'll accept that he had an absolutely shocking weekend. Crashed in qualifying. The amount of incidents he had through the race was just poor. He ended up having 5 pit stops at Monaco. I mean, it was that bad. One time I've seen him on full wets. I don't know if he was just testing them out at that time, because we got the new wet tyres that came to Monaco, and the first time they've been ever used. They're ones that you run without the tyre blanket. So I don't know if they just did a test of that overall, considering how bad the Monaco Grand Prix was going for him. He was never any chance of getting in the points at any time of the weekend. Next we've got Nico Hülkenberg. He struggled with the car. I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10 for him. Struggled with the car here, just wasn't great for pace in qualifying. He started towards the back as well, and then in the race he got the two penalties. He got a 5-second penalty for the collision, I think with Sargent, where he just dived through on him, and then he got another penalty because they didn't serve that 5-second penalty correctly, and then a 10-second time penalty was added on to his time when he came in after that, because he took his 5-second when he pitted for the wet tyres. He ran on wet tyres as well actually. We went onto the inters first and then the wets 4 laps later, which was a bit odd. I don't know if again they were just testing out to see how that wet tyre works, because they knew just went in for a shout on the points, or they were just struggling that much with grip, but so would everybody, but they weren't even fast on them either. Logan Sargent, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10 because I think his qualifying performance was pretty decent around Monaco. He wasn't in the back of the grid, but again he struggled in the race again, and at one point when them tyres went off they just seemed to go off the cliff, and he lost 3 places in 1 lap, and he'll be disappointed with that, because around Monaco you still got to battle it out, and even if you are struggling, just make it hard. It's a place where it's really difficult to overtake, and to lose 3 places in 1 lap, he'll be massively disappointed with that. Kevin Magnussen, again he had a shocking race, didn't he? 5 out of 10. He had a DNF at the end, although he classified as finished. Disappointed for the team. He started on the hards. He then gambled when the grain came down actually. He decided to just stay out on them and hoping for a safety car and a red flag, as kind of the Ferrari strategy, but it didn't work, wasn't to be. and then that just cost him dearly in the end. Like I say, 5 out of 10, poor weekend for Kevin Magnussen. Lance Stroll, he's another one, he had an absolute shocker. 2 out of 10, he's not had any standout performance so far this season. He's been in Alonso's shadow. He's almost sort of saying, well done boy, you made an overtake like back in 7th or 8th place, while he's constantly in sort of 2nd and 3rd. Alonso is getting bored in that Aston Martin, so he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. The pressure is hyping up. We've seen what Alonso has been doing with that car, consistently on the podium, and it's just a one-handed battle for Aston Martin to hold on to that 2nd place in the Constructors' title. They're only now 1 point ahead of Mercedes, so he's really got to, get to grips with what is this season and really, pull in some performances, at least, getting into them 3rd, 4th places. He's consistently too far behind Alonso far too often. But yeah, it's Spain this weekend. Looking forward to that. Watch out for the Spanish Grand Prix review or preview, and we'll see you for the weekend on that one. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. I'll see you in the next video.